Mandy KUAIMAN is in the house after a stunning start to 2025. How far will she go? Will she go further than the quarterfinal she achieved in the champions Chongqing? Well, she's up against somebody very tough indeed.
From Japan, Miwa Harimoto!
The bow from the 16-year-old sensation, all smiles, and what a wonderful entrance that is for somebody who has it all lying in front of her. This week has already seen her break into the top 5 in the world for the first time, and now, yet to drop a game here in Incheon, she prepares to try and make it to the semi-final. The youngest woman in the field, and now she and the rest have to play the best of 7 games. Yep, that is the format. They have to do it the long way around if they're to make it to the semis. This is the WT head-to-head between these two, and it sees that one victory for KUAIMAN there. That was in a WTT contender in Zagreb 2 years ago, and it was a 3-1 victory for the player from China. World ranking-wise, just 2 between them. Let's just quickly check in on Pairut, who has the honor of being the first of our umpires today, as he awaits the arrival of the players. They have met once before, by the way, and that was also won by KUAIMAN at junior level.
I have red or black choose. Harimoto red, KUAIMAN black. Black, KUAIMAN with the toss. Choose service.
All right, Fraser, well, we've heard from you once already. Let's get a more detailed look ahead to this right now. And as we tend to do, we'll focus on individual players. In terms of scorelines and path to this quarterfinal, Miwa has, on paper, looked the more impressive, but we know that KUAIMAN has the edge in terms of their head-to-head. So where are you leaning on this one?
It's a tough one to call here. Miwa Harimoto, obviously 5 years younger, both of these superstars so young. But, you know, I think KUAIMAN will take the pressure off her shoulders now, playing against someone who's a bit more orthodox after just getting through Srija Akula. She does have a lot of flair in her attack, the Chinese player. He's Miwa's run through.
Yeah, and as you can see, perfect 100% record, Hwang Iwa and Britt Earland, who put up a tremendous fight, particularly early on in that match, didn't come away with the game against the young Japanese star. And as for KUAIMAN, well, let's remind you, she started 2025 in blistering fashion, making it to the final in Singapore, and then a quarterfinalist in WTT champions Chongqing, world ranking of 7. And somebody who just feels like she is still very much on the rise. Yeah, you mentioned that one, Fraser. Srija Akula was a tricky customer and really will have felt that maybe she could have gone on to win that one there. So she dodged one before getting past Kim Na-young, which in itself is a really impressive result.
Yeah, Kim Na-young beating Do Hoi Kem in a thriller earlier on in the event. Brilliant result there for KUAIMAN.
Just remind you where we are right now, because they'll start thinking about the prizes now. $40,000 up for grabs for men and women who can go all the way and win this one. Substantial points to be picked up too. And look at what's happening now. When you get to the quarterfinals onwards, that's when they must start focusing. As you can see here, quarterfinals today, semis and final tomorrow. But Fraser, this is when they must start zooming in and daring to think about going all the way.
These are the kind of matches that these two players particularly would have been expecting to play. I mean, you can't rest on your own laurels. There's no easy way through here at the champions. And after getting through the players that they expected themselves to, now it's really up in the air.
Not surprising to see that there's just an edge given by the fans in the fan vote via worldtabletennis.com to Miwa Harimoto, but it's just an edge, isn't it? And you might look at the 2 places in world rankings and say, yeah, that's pretty much indicative of that. So a real world prediction by the looks of things there from those fans. But in the real world, it's what happens on the table that really matters. Well, there's going to be no shortage of cuteness when it comes to what we see around the outskirts of the table, but it's all serious contemplation ahead of this one for the coaches and of course the players.
First game, KUAIMAN to start. Love all. Love one.
So good receive straight away from Miwa. Action areas that you're looking out for, where it will be won and lost?
I mean, Miwa likes the constant rhythm, and I do feel as though KUAIMAN just a little bit stronger than her at changing the speed and spin, disrupting the rhythm. The fact that she's a lefty as well will make it tougher for Miwa in the serve-receive game. We saw how slowly spinning can be effective against Harimoto. Britt Eland with a good performance in the last round.
Miwa missing on the forehand there. We've spoken a lot about her backhand in previous matches. It's something you always single out.
Yeah, amazing. Close to the table, holding the fort down with the backhand, redirecting constantly. And KUAIMAN will go there, but I'd say for the most part she'll try and go into the middle and the forehand of Harimoto.
Yeah, well, that was borne out there. You spoke about that KUAIMAN serve receive. So far, so pretty good. In fact, the receivers are having the better of it right now.
It's interesting, you know, the fact that these two are ranked as high as they've been. Miwa Harimoto just getting into the top 5 for the first time in her career. KUAIMAN at 7 in the world. Could see a swap if KUAIMAN wins this match here.
Isn't it great, though, for WTT? We've got the blockbuster lead-off match here, and it's two players, 21 and 16. Someone who's got 100 wins under her belt already. Incredible.
Oh, the future is unquestionably bright here. And you wonder, in 2 or 3 years, who else will have emerged out of the blue?
And that just felt like the kind of pattern that we expect from Miwa Harimoto.
Yeah, that was a lovely counter. She pushed long, got the bat high. Knew that KUAIMAN would try and grease the ball. Well timed.
Yeah, never really recovered. It's interesting when your opponent has been disadvantaged, you've still got to make the most of it, as KUAIMAN does here.
That's right. And, you know, she's so seamless, KUAIMAN, in her shot making.
Oh, again. That's 2 on the bounce. And we always talk about karma and it coming back, but that's double misfortune for the Japanese player.
Harimoto got her into the crossover. That's just a Matrix-like reaction from KUAIMAN.
4-6.
What's tantalizing, of course, is that we know it's a best of 7, so that they're just finding out a thing or two about one another, just easing their way into this right now.
And the factor of the timeout as well to consider will probably be called a different kind of situation.
Really given a chance to show us that forehand there, winding up, lovely arc on it.
Into the middle, KUAIMAN trying to protect that crossover with the backhand. Oh, brilliant. The forehand up the line was pinpoint, and then she added to it as well. Good point construction. Look at this, off that half long, that table awareness, sublime. Wide base, good stability from Harimoto. She gets a little touch of the tape there as well.
Again, even though she misses there, you can see the intent back into that crossover backhand across the front of her body of KUAIMAN there. That was the idea there.
They're both spinning so heavily at the moment.
Well, it's neck and neck. Nothing separating these two.
Harimoto's serving well. She has to be prepared here for an attackable ball. She has to pounce. She has to be proactive. Or KUAIMAN could win these points on receive.
Left 7-all.
The service game of both players very, very strong, and they're both trying to serve middle to forehand for the most part.
That was really sharp. It was only half a chance.
Beautiful forehand touch from Harimoto. Coming around the side of the ball there nicely to keep it tight.
but she can't back it up. And that's why now at 8-all with serves with KUAIMAN, a slight advantage for the Chinese player.
And with serve now.
Advantage negated by some wonderful open flowing work with the racket from Miwa Harimoto.
Like her brother Tomokazu, she has a big stroke on the forehand. Sometimes that means it's harder for her to recover to play consecutive ones, but she did it there.
Well, that is huge, huge. 2 points on the KUAIMAN serve. She has the ball in hand herself, and 2 game points now, the 16-year-old.
So delicate there. There wasn't that much backspin on that half-long push. KUAIMAN thought there may have been, came up the back of the ball a bit too much.
Let 10 edge. Let 10 edge.
And there it is. First blood to Miwa Harimoto, who came good at the right time when she needed it. And that's just a little headache there for KUAIMAN, who was in a good position. And now she has to sit down and contemplate the fact that she's 1 down. Long way to go yet, though. This is a meeting, of course, of 2 winners in recent times. As far as KUAIMAN is concerned, the contender Muscat, followed up by a star contender win in Doha, so strong elsewhere. And to the right, most recently last week in Chennai, the WTT star contender Miwa Harimoto. So bringing winning form into this and taking out the first game, Fraser.
Yeah, and that victory in Chennai was a huge confidence booster for the 16-year-old because she'd lost in 2 major finals in the last 12 months. The Asian Championship final and the Champions Montpellier final against a teammate as well in Satsuki Odo. So to beat a teammate in Honoka Hashimoto in that final as well was a massive bonus for her.
Love 1.
You said something interesting towards the end of that first game in terms of one potential weakness in the Harimoto game. You said having to get from forehand to backhand to transition, or that's a problem, right?
And you saw it there from KUAIMAN, testing the recovery. The forehand is a more expensive stroke in terms of time, so when you play it, you really have to make it count. KUAIMAN did here. And this is why Harimoto and many players now wanting to stay closer on average. Block, control, feed off pace, use the backhand even from the middle of the table. But the Team China stars, the very, very best players in the world, are more forehand orientated, and they use the backhand in a more probing manner.
Yeah, one knocks on the door, the other opens it, doesn't it? That's the theory behind that.
Correct.
And the safety first approach would be to the table with the backhand predominantly. Well, she's come out, she's made a very proactive start to bouncing back here, 3-1 up, although Harimoto has taken the most recent of the points. Maybe 3rd or 4th time we've seen that pacey, deep service from Harimoto.
That's the thing about the pendulum. Look at that speed on that one, the depth. No giveaway with the foremotion. She served long with the plan, got ready to attack. Nice combination from Harimoto.
3-all.
She doesn't want to get into the longer rallies. I feel like in the longer points, KUAIMAN will be better off.
We always like to bring you as many angles as we can statistically and otherwise, and I'll be fascinated to see what serve percentages are looking like when we seriously get into the meat of this match.
Excellent pressure from Harimoto. You don't see as many, obviously, backhand to backhand rallies when there's a lefty and a righty at the table, because it's rare to see both players trying to play that shorter side. But if one of the players notices a shift in the opponent's body towards the forehand, they might try and play that line.
It's lovely, of course, being at these events, and we get the privilege of seeing the players warming up, seeing their entourage. KUAIMAN, who was she working with prior to this?
She was training with the Chinese-born Korean Ju Chun-hee, player who grew up actually with Sun Ying-sha.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Familiar kind of face to warm her up for this one. Miwa did so well. It was a reach and hope, but it turned into a point.
Crafty play inside the table here from KUAIMAN. I like that. Look at the posture there from Miwa on that backhand. Wow. I've not seen her do something quite like that before.
Oh, blazing stuff. Won by KUAIMAN.
Pedal to the medal.
Look at that adjustment. And as ever, every point described through the facial expressions of Miwa Harimoto.
The shot of KUAIMAN that I love is the inside-out forehand. It is a superb stroke.
Ooh, she misses. Yes, sorry, Fraser. And we saw that, the evidence of that. She adjusted to it and backed herself. There, she was furious with herself for just going long.
Ooh, an interesting service. KUAIMAN miscues.
So much on that. Just dragged it wide.
She realised too late, KUAIMAN, that she would struggle to return it with the forehand receive. Reverse pendulum serve here.
Second time in this game that she's made a get that was unlikely, Miwa, and ends up winning the point.
The recovery here of Miwa Harimoto has been jaw-droppingly good. She has the shots to beat KUAIMAN, but can she survive the test of time in the rally?
Well, those signs of resilience, the ability to recover, have given her a platform to 4 game points for a 2-game lead.
Let 10-6.
Just a side note, so many lets on the Harimoto serve. Such a fine margin.
Ten-7.
Can't help but think, you know, how good could Miwa Harimoto be in 5 years? KUAIMAN 5 years her senior. It's a
scary thought.
She's a long-term concern, the Japanese player.
And the concern for KUAIMAN now is that she has lost the second game to a fired-up, in-form and resilient Miwa Harimoto. She's got all the qualities on show right here that add up to a victory. Some way to go just yet, but she's made a super start.
And while this next game for KUAIMAN is basically as good as a must-win, did not expect to see this kind of start. Very impressed by the 4th seed.
Well, the fans of Miwa Harimoto will be absolutely enchanted by what they're seeing so far, because their girl is delivering. 2 games up already here in the Infinity Arena after a nearly flawless start against the dangerous Chinese player KUAIMAN. Remember, best of 7. Fraser's already called it, saying this is as good as a must-win for KUAIMAN, otherwise she makes life so hard for herself.
Love all. One love.
She attacked that bouncing serve return, Miwa, but in vain.
The Chinese players pride themselves on getting through inevitable tests. They know that there's going to be bumps in the road. They wouldn't work so hard if they were oblivious to that fact. They wouldn't be able to maintain their dominance like they have. The closer to the finish line you get, the more likely you are to get carried away. So for Miwa here, she's got in front, she's halfway there already, but she still has to treat each point on its own merit and actually continue to act almost as the underdog so she can get that fight.
1, 2.
Continue taking the game to KUAIMAN.
Well, there was case in point. Just seeking permission for a change of ball and getting it.
The players choose 15 balls before the start of the match, testing the hardness, the smoothness, consistency.
Talking about hardness, that presented itself and she delivered.
Serving really well again with this long one.
Have you seen that many long ones this early in a match from Miwa? It's a clear tactic she's got into here.
I have seen this before. This is a common theme, but I just think that she's picking her moment, and I do think that she's been working on her service just to get a little bit more element of surprise, because it requires more whip coming into the serve. That can give a clue to your opponent before you make contact with the ball. So it really takes the right amount of timing, and if you want to play the long serve, you have to make sure that the first bounce is as close to your back line as possible.
Second time in this game we've seen that. Her shot selection, even as early as the return of serve, is so good at the moment, Miwa Harimoto. Again, runs around onto the forehand.
At this level, your opponent can use your power so well. This slow spin has been a key ingredient and a spanner in the works, and KUAIMAN here inevitably wanting a breather.
You said earlier on the timing of this would be crucial. We'll have a little listen in here as Li De-Chang has some work to do. Miwa 100, the theme of this week. She's got there, and it's now 101 for Miwa Harimoto. At her tender age, she has been one of the stars of the WTT era. KUAIMAN, of course, is there with 75 to her name, 7th in that race for the 100, which has seen 2 players make it already. And we've also got 1 or 2 others on that list in action. 3 others actually going to be playing in our quarterfinals. And Incheon is actually looking in. Exited the tournament at the hands of her fellow countrywoman, Wong Yi-Di, but not after giving her an amazing fight.
4-3.
What makes it incredible that Sun Ying-Sha won the race to 100 wins is that she was only really playing champions level events and above, as well as a couple of star contenders. KUAIMAN won the season opener in Doha, and then reached 2 finals in Contender Muscat and the Singapore Smash.
There's a resilience to the Harimoto game on show so far today that has been so impressive.
Well,
did that just flick the table?
It looked like the side of the table looked to go basically straight down.
Oh, there's a way to come back. Turns round to Harimoto, and that meant more.
Goodness me, she had a massive compound movement to make there, and she took it on quite low. Couldn't have played that any better, Miwa Harimoto.
Oh, and then another peach of a shot, this time off the backhand.
Yeah, she's playing with no pressure on her shoulders. Free-spirited, uncompromising. She's enjoying this match. Even though there's so much pressure, of course. The pressure is self. You put that on yourself.
It's a really interesting point you make there, Fraser. It's a credit to the preparation, isn't it? You know, wherever that's come from, within, from dad, from the coaching setup, whatever it might be. She just looks as if she's perfectly prepared for this outing today.
And the belief is more than half the battle. We've seen many, many Japanese players like Ito, Hirano come through, prod the bee's nest, beat the Chinese, and then struggle to beat them again. Could Miwa be different?
5-8.
Well, she's always been seen, hasn't she, as the player that was finally going to get in amongst the very top, the elite echelon of the Chinese players, and you can see why. Once again, wanting to get onto that forehand, but, to your point earlier, recovering.
KUAIMAN getting completely outclassed here. Dismantled.
And it's not often you'll say that. I mean, even in Chongqing, okay, she went out at the quarterfinal stage, but not outclassed by any means.
That's the thing. You know, she lost to Chen Qintong.
And she's on the brink of a 3-love lead here. 4 game points for Miwa Harimoto, who's on a mission. Too good.
11-6. Game you Harimoto.
Harimoto 3-love up. Who saw this coming? Well, there's 2 blokes on microphones holding their hands up saying, not us. This is quite something from the 16-year-old world number 5. 8-7-6 against the 5th seeded KUAIMAN. Well, one of the seeds was always going to go in this matchup here, and it looks now as if it's going to be this one, KUAIMAN, number 5, because number 4 is well in control of this one. 3 games to the good. Remember, it's only Hina Hayato who prior to today has dropped out of this event.
If you can beat one of them, we've seen that even in events like Frankfurt. If you can beat one Chinese player, it puts so much pressure on the rest of them, because there will be an inquest made by the China High Council.
Just tell us about the draw.
Harimoto to serve. Love all.
The winner of this match will take on the winner of Ito and Chen Qintong, and let me tell you, Ito will be fancying her chances there.
Love 1.
That was sharp, that was tidy, but she needs so much more of that, KUAIMAN. Now that's the thing. Throughout this match, we've seen her get balls back and give herself a platform. That's what this is built on, this superiority.
It's the stability that I touched upon earlier. Her recovery, The players could hit the ball harder than what you're seeing here. That's the scary thing. You ain't even seeing the full power on show. Only on certain balls they'll fully unleash. Because again, the opponent can use that pace to play the open space. You've got to be very mindful where you invest, when you invest. That was absolutely chip-panned with topspin.
Chip-panned. Now there was some power.
Some more venom in the KUAIMAN backhand. That was, even for me, was level unrecoverable. It's better when KUAIMAN starts short forehand, half long forehand, and then goes quick and deep to forehand.
Oh, down the line with aplomb.
Some panache there from Harimoto. She's read the guide flick well. Look at that.
Her confidence levels sky high this afternoon here in the Infinity Arena. Absolutely on top of her game.
She does the basics so well, the fundamentals so strong. You know what you're getting with Miwa, yet she has such a difficult playing style to disrupt.
What must be crushing KUAIMAN here is that she's never been able to get away. She's had no breathing space. 3-love at the start of the second, the best lead she's had, I think.
And I mean, she's a very placid character anyway, KUAIMAN. Very unassuming, but you can really tell that she's had the wind knocked out of her sails. That was better, though. There's that pivot that I was talking about earlier. Haven't seen that so much.
That long one, when it comes out, chances are it's going to pay off.
Had the desired surprise factor.
This is sliding almost inexorably towards a whitewash by the looks of things here.
I think the reverse serve of KUAIMAN would be better to use at this moment. She's not having much success with the pendulum. Just because the reverse was returned well earlier doesn't mean it won't be effective now. If she does the reverse serve with backspin to the middle or backhand, she may get an easier ball on her forehand.
And sometimes you just don't focus on the player who's struggling, not doing so well, because this has been supreme for Miwa Harimoto. That's the story here, surely, isn't it?
Oh, this is just incredible. She's painting such a good picture of her abilities here. If she whitewashes the Singapore Smash finalist, the best player in China for her age, this would be nuts. A headliner, even though she is the higher ranked player.
Oh, now it's showtime.
All optimism remains guarded, though. Wow. Caressing shot.
And she's nearly there. On to 5 match points. Make it 4, but the end, you feel, is nigh. Because this serve has been a platform for something special. There's fighting KUAIMAN. You don't come from where she comes from, and you haven't been where she's been and not have some fighting qualities. Timeout called as well, just to add to the drama, and also to keep this one going a little bit longer.
上手不要推进去，贴两个就可以贴了。如果贴完的时候就防御，那时候就这个温度就可以。
Well, the Chinese speakers among you might have picked up 1 or 2 pointers from both camps there. The body language tells the rest of us all we need to know. Smile on the face of that little piece of fan art, and I would imagine fairly soon a big smile on the face of Miwa Harimoto, who's standing on the brink of the semi-finals.
10-7. Let 10-7. 11-7.
That's it. It's done. There are wins and there are statement wins, and we've just seen the latter. How impressed were you, Fraser?
The starry-eyed Miwa Harimoto has played an absolute blinder there, hasn't she, ladies and gentlemen? What a performance! Not even a juice game. That is insane. Miwa Harimoto, take a bow. You're through.